Hello, everyone. Just giving it a minute to catch up over here on the Facebook, making sure everything is live and working. Okay, it says I'm live, but it's showing last week's, so that's fun. Let's try this again here. Okay, now I'm not seeing me at all, so it's being a bit glitchy today, as technology tends to be. I'm fairly certain that I'm on, but I'm not finding myself. So annoying. Okay, so the live I found earlier is me. It just says that we're going to talk about quality editing, which is the header from last week. That is not what we're talking about. So if you're looking for quality editing, you want to look for, I think it was episode 29 on the YouTube, and you will find all about quality editing from last week, because I went through all of that last week. And I think you guys have heard it twice now from me, so I don't think you really need to hear it again. I'm just saying, just, put it on repeat. Oh, technology. So fun. Yeah. If you did not detect the sarcasm, yeah, throwing it pretty hard there. So, okay. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to Indie Strong, Becoming Stronger Authors Together. I am your host, Jennifer McMurrain, and I do appreciate you all being here. If you take just a minute to hit that like, laugh, love button on Facebook or that thumbs up on YouTube, I would really appreciate it. And always, sharing is caring, so please hit those share buttons. We have a ton to talk about today. I will probably go over in time, but there is a lot that I want to talk about, and by the end of it, you'll kind of see why. So let's get to it. No small talk today. Well, there will always be small talk. Come on, it's me. Anyway, so last week we talked about putting out a quality book. Today, we're going to dive into the 3 other secrets of being an indie author. If you remember, the 4 secrets to being a successful, a strong indie author, because it is Indie Strong, are quality, quantity, marketing, and resilience. I'm going to go a little bit out of order today because I feel like it's really important to start with marketing, especially since I know that I'm probably going to go over. I want to start with that. So here is what you absolutely have to have in order to market. You have to have a web page. You have to have a social media presence. You have to have an Amazon author page, and you have to know your brand. So those 4 things are crucial to marketing. I'm going to move myself over just a tad. Okay. So those 4 things are crucial to marketing: web page, social media presence, Amazon author page, and knowing your brand. And we're going to talk about all of those in detail. You do not need a bunch of swag. In fact, right now, swag should be the last thing that you're thinking about buying. Swag is what brings people to your table. It's the pins, it's the little buttons, it's bookmarks, which I am a huge fan of. I love swag. It's chapsticks, it's coffee mugs, all that stuff is swag. Right now, in our current climate, I would just totally omit that from the budget. Because most likely, if you are doing book signings, you aren't doing very many of them right now because, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So I would not spend a ton of money on like physical swag right now. I think you can save and put it in other places like in ads and stuff, which we're going to talk about in just a bit. So even if you do a lot of book signings, you really don't need a whole bunch of swag. What you really need is a good book rack and quality covers, and those should attract people to your book signing tables. The other thing that I've noticed, I don't do a lot of author fairs anymore, but when I was doing them, one of the things that I noticed is that you have to be approachable. I don't know how many times I've gone to a book fair and maybe the crowd isn't very thick, or maybe nobody's stopping at your table. And so I see an author just sitting there like this, just looking bored out of their mind, looking entirely unapproachable. You have to, no matter if you're having the crummiest day, you got to put on your author persona. I understand that sometimes I'm a bit peppy. I'm a cheerleader for sure. But I'm smiling, I'm standing. I very rarely, there are times when I'm just bone tired and I need to sit down for a little bit, But if somebody's coming, I'm standing. Very rarely do you see me just sitting there like this. That's not going to sell you a book. That's not going to make people want to come over to your booth. So you really got to be engaging, and you have to be that annoying person that calls out to somebody who's walking by and says, "Hey, do you like to read?" And bring them over. I mean, that works better if you're at an arts and crafts fair, because if they're at an author fair, then they probably do like to read. So you could start off with something like, "What kind of books do you like to read?" It doesn't have to be about your book, but I'm really good at selling in person. So book signings, not doing book signings has been painful to my bottom line. And I could do a whole thing on how to sell in person, but I'm not going to do that right now because we're in the middle of a pandemic. But number one, you have to be approachable. You can't just be saying. Grumpy Cat might sell posters, but Grumpy Cat does not sell books. I'm just saying. But I digress. These are the things we're talking about, stuff online, marketing online. We're not talking about in person. I just wanted to make that clear. This is totally focused on stuff you can do right now at home. So webpage, social media, Amazon author page, and knowing your brand. So let's start off with the webpage. You need to have a good webpage. It doesn't need to be flashy. In fact, you don't want a whole bunch of things that have to open up like right when somebody visits your page. In fact, I went to a restaurant page yesterday, and it was for an Italian food, and they had Italian music just blaring in the background. When I turned it on, it kind of startled me, and I was just like, no, thank you. But sometimes having stuff like that, even though I love Italian music, when the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, sometimes it can bring you in, but sometimes it won't load, and it's a distraction, and it causes your page to slow down. So just because you have really good Wi-Fi and really good internet and it's loading like that for you, it might not load like that for everybody else. What you want is a clean, user-friendly page where people can see where they want to go easily, and they can get there easily. They don't have to click through a bunch of things. They don't have to stop a bunch of animations or videos. It's fine to have videos on there if you have a book trailer or something along those lines. If you've paid for it, definitely use it. But you don't want it to come up and like block everything else, because then it kind of gets, people are like, no, I'm not dealing with that. If you have a pop-up for your newsletter, that's great. I'm not saying don't do that, but don't make it the first thing that comes up, because a lot of people be like, oh, I'm not messing with that crap. And then they'll move on. So if you do have a pop-up, it's supposed to come on, I don't know, I think it's like a minute after somebody's been at the page. So that means they're already engaged in the page, and they'll probably continue to be engaged in the page after you hit the X button that you don't want the newsletter or whatever. So just have a good web page, make it clean, make it easy, user-friendly. If you're somewhat computer savvy, you can do this on your own. There are sites like Weebly, Wix, and WordPress that all offer free website services. If you don't know, you can hire somebody. You can even hire a young person. A lot of young people, teenagers, young adults, they grew up on computers, and a lot of the stuff is second nature to them. So see if you can't find somebody that's affordable to help build you a clean, professional looking site. If you can't do it on your own. I understand we're all on different tech levels here. Mine is pretty simple. I'm looking at changing it to a different venue, because right now it's my old Blogger, which I've just kind of transferred into a web page. But Blogger doesn't like images very well. So sometimes my book covers don't come up, and that's kind of annoying, and I can't get things to line up the way I want them to. So I'm looking at different venues now. But it's user-friendly. That's why I started Blogger. It was user-friendly when I was trying to figure all this stuff out, and I didn't want to continually ask my husband how this and that and whatever worked. So it was something that I can do. I have asked other people for their recommendations, and these were the three that came up: Weebly, Wix with an X, W-I-X, and WordPress were the three that people most recommended as being pretty user-friendly. So, because even though I'm married a tech guy, I'm not that techy. I mean, I can get around a computer, all right, but Yeah, when something goes wrong, I'm just like, Mike, and he doesn't, he really hates it when he hears that tone because he's all like, oh, crap, she needs me to fix something. So, and he does it because he loves me. So anyway, make sure that your website also has a unique URL that is unique to you. So for example, my webpage is jennifermcmurrain.com. But if I wouldn't have made it unique, it would have been jennifermcmurrain.blogspot.com. It's just one more thing that people have to remember. And so you wanted to make it as easy as possible. So if it's just your name.com, then most people are going to remember that. If you cannot, it's fairly easy to change your domain name and to get a domain name. If this is something you can't figure out using Google and YouTube tutorials, then hire somebody that knows what they're doing to do it for you. I don't think it should cost that much. I have not ever had to hire somebody. You might have somebody that's computer savvy in your family that you can ask them to do this. And it's not a time consuming process. So if somebody could take about half an hour out of their day to help you, that would be super, super friendly of them. So like I said, young people, this stuff comes pretty easy to them because they're on computers all the time. I mean, my daughter is in virtual school right now. And so being on the Chromebook is most of her day. So she's going to grow up knowing this stuff and knowing how it works. And she's definitely going to surpass my knowledge. Her daddy does this for a living. So hopefully he can stay ahead of her on the game. But yeah, she's going to surpass me at some point. She probably already has, but don't tell her that. All right. So webpage, have a webpage, have a professional looking, and get it professionally done if you can't do it yourself. You also need to have a social media presence. This does not mean that you have to be on all social media platforms. Find that one that you really love, learn the ins and outs of it, and utilize it to its fullest, and then branch out if you feel so inclined. You do have to have a social media account on any sites that you're going to advertise on. For example, if you want to do Facebook ads, you have to have a Facebook page and you have to have a Facebook profile. Rewind. If you're going to do a Facebook ad, then you have to have a Facebook profile and a Facebook business page in order to make those happen. Twitter, Instagram, and other sites. Okay, I think the screen dropped or the video dropped for a minute. So I'm going to say that again. So sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I got the countdown again on the Be Live. So it's just been a little wonky today. So what I was saying is you need to have a social media presence. You don't have to be on every site known to man. Find the one that you love, figure it out, learn the ins and outs of it. Any site that you want to do advertising on, of course, you have to have an account. For example, if you want to do Facebook ads, you have to have a Facebook profile and you have to have a Facebook business page. Twitter, Instagram, and others also require you to have an account before you can advertise on their sites. Your business author pages should be about writing and your works, especially if you're trying to build followers. Other platforms such as politics, injustices of the world, and any other controversial topics that don't fit your brand. For example, if you write romances, then you should probably stay away from posting about politics on your business page. But say you write political thrillers, then you might want to dive into what's happening in politics right now because that's part of your brand. And we're going to talk about brand awareness. If you feel inclined that you need to speak out about these controversial topics, politics, or I'm not going to say religion so much, but I guess it can be controversial. But I'm talking more like politics and injustices of the world, then that's stuff that you do on your private page, on your Facebook profile. So you try to keep those two separate as you can, but there will be some rollover. So you need to keep that in mind. If you're posting about politics on your personal page, people are going to put two and two together, realize that you're that author, and you might lose some readers. Now that is completely on, if you feel like you really need to stand up for something and you might lose readers because of it, sometimes you just so be it. Maybe I don't want a reader that believes that because that's super racist or whatever. So, you have to decide what platform you're going to stand on, and then you stand on it. Of course, I'm not telling anybody to just hide in the shadows so you can sell more books. No, I'm not doing that. So if you feel strong about something, speak up about it. That's what's great about our country. But I have found, that being said, I have found that unless you really like to argue with bricks, posting about anything controversial is kind of pointless on social media. So I do try to refrain. I mean, I do occasionally, and then I'm all like, okay, yeah, I just spent my whole day arguing. That was fun. Yeah, I don't like debates. So, but this is your space. You have the right to start these conversations. So start the conversations that you want to have. And just know that you're probably going to have to be defending your stance. It's like, you've written your thesis and now you want your doctorate. And so, you've got to defend your doctorate, and people don't always come at you with facts, just saying. So it's a lot like arguing with bricks, and it's just not how I want to spend my day. So when I feel strongly about something political or controversial, I tend to show my support in other ways. I give to foundations that I know support the same way that I do. I give to campaigns I know feel the same way I do about certain subjects. I campaign for people that I feel like would be good for the office and feel the same way that I do. Facebook specifically, because that's my jam, that's where I'm at most of the time. Whenever I post something controversial or try to make a point about something, I usually feel like I'm just arguing with bricks. It's like there was a meme that kind of really hit it home for me. And the meme was like, I like oranges. Everyone else on social media, well, what about pineapples and mangoes? Have you ever thought about them? No, you need to educate yourself, or something along those lines. Yeah. And that's exactly, like, you can't have an opinion without somebody telling you you're wrong and then doing their best to make sure that you feel like crap by the end of the day. And I'm not a fan of that. Just not. So I tend to, every once in a while, I get a burr in my saddle and I got to post something. But for the most part, I don't post about politics or controversial topics, but I definitely have my beliefs and I definitely support them in other ways. So it does not make me a sheep to not, or to be quiet about it on Facebook. I just don't see the point. So I mentioned ads, but I'm not going to go into details about how to do ads. And here is why. I just took a month-long course on ads, and I still feel like a total noob when it comes to doing them. Like I've put myself out there, I'm doing ads, but that I don't feel like I'm in any way able to teach you what makes a great ad at this point in my career. So I would suggest taking classes from either Melissa Storm and Alana Taylor. They are both through Author Engine. Or Michelle Fox, and I believe she teaches most of her stuff through the Margie Lawson Academy. I believe Margie Lawson also has some really great classes, but I've never taken one of hers. I've only taken through Michelle Fox, who has nothing but wonderful things to say about Margie Lawson. So really, to learn the ins and outs of ads, and we're talking Facebook ads, Amazon ads, Instagram ads, BookBub ads, go to the experts. I am just not qualified. I'm wading into this ocean myself, and so I would feel really bad if I told you something that was just totally wrong and cost you guys money. And anything that has to do with money, I really have a hard time, saying, okay, this is what you should do, because again, yeah, there's just so much out there right now. So I just don't. This is stuff you need to learn ads. You will need to do ads. I'm just not the one to teach you about them, where I think you could be like super successful. I just don't have that confidence in myself. So go see Melissa Storm and Alana Taylor on Author Engine, or Michelle Fox through the Margie Lawson Academy. Those are people that you can Google very easily that will that have the knowledge, and they have the success to back it up. So I highly recommend them. So we're going to just kind of gloss over ads. You need them, yes, but be educated about them. Go take a class from one of those fine ladies. So let's talk about Amazon author pages. This is a big one that I feel like gets really overlooked by a lot of authors, and I don't know if they just don't know about them or if they have trouble finding them, because sometimes I know when I first started out, I had to like Google it and be like, how do I even get here? So Amazon, why do you need one? Because Amazon is by far the biggest retailer of indie books. I mean, a lot of people have really bad things to say about Amazon, and I get where they're coming from. But to me, Amazon is the business that opened up this world of indie publishing for us. We would not be where we are now without Amazon. And so, like, I'm super appreciative of that, but I'm not saying that they do everything right. I mean, they're a business, they're out to make money, and they definitely make mistakes, and sometimes they really piss authors off. And their anger is justified. So, but I can't just say Amazon is the devil, because I wouldn't be where I am today without Amazon. And so I don't agree with everything they do, but I would, I'm just kind of a big fan of the store that they opened. So having an Amazon author page basically means you have a little web page on Amazon. And so if somebody reads, let's say somebody reads all of the Quill Crossing books and they're like, I want to read more from Jennifer, but I don't have any more Quill Crossings books to read. What else has she written? Well, all they have to do is click the little highlighted Jennifer McMurrain underneath Quill Crossings, and it'll take them to a page that has all of my books for sale. So it's kind of my own little sales page right there on Amazon. When I started the Indie Strong, not the group page, but the business page, people, and I asked indies for their books because I wanted to read them. And then, if I love them, I want to share them with the world. That is my goal. A lot of those people, when I started clicking, they did not have Amazon author pages. And I thought, well, if I love this book, how am I going to find all your rest of your books? Am I going to weed through all of, because when you do an Amazon search, it doesn't always give you just everything by Jennifer McMurrain. Sometimes it'll weed other books in there too. So on my Amazon author page, it is only my books. And so that's why I think it's really important to have that space on Amazon where people can find all of the stuff that you wrote. It's really easy, it's really user-friendly, and they can buy. So don't overlook that. If you need to create one, Google. I cannot walk you through it. It's been too long since I've done it. And again, I had to Google to do it. Just Google how to make an Amazon author page, and it will literally have the steps for you. So it's super easy. You'll be able to put all your books in one place on Amazon. And like I said, it's like having your own little sales page, your own little web page on Amazon. And I find it incredibly helpful. And so this is just, and it won't take you more than maybe 10, 15 minutes and you can link your blog to it or your web page to it or no, not Instagram. I was going to say Instagram, but I don't think that's right. But I think my Facebook is hooked up to it. So I've linked something social media wise up to it. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've done it. And so it has like current pictures and it's just one of those underutilized places that I think more authors need to utilize. So that is why I'm mentioning it. So finally, at the end of this marketing thing here, you need to know your brand. Know your branding. Okay, I have a confession to make. For a long time, up until about a month ago, when I started taking a smart business for writers class, I really thought that branding was for nonfiction authors only. I was wrong, 100% wrong on this. And that see, I have it written, but I can't say the word, but me being that naive has shown in my sales. So let me break it down. The Quill Crossing series, it's my most popular. It's what pays the bills. I get other sales, they trickle in for my paranormal romances. And then I have the one contemporary romance out. So, but I mean, those like really trickle in. The thing that keeps me in business is the Quill Crossing series. It is that series that my readers love. But when I first started, I didn't want to be put in this family saga historical fiction box. I have too many stories running through my head. I am a storyteller to its full finest. I have stories on top of stories on top of stories. So I didn't want to just write historical fiction. I love historical fiction, but I didn't want to just write it. So I wrote Quill Crossings, and then I wrote Winter Song, and then I wrote Return to Quill Crossings, and then I wrote Summer's End. And I kind of flip-flop between the two because, I really love those two genres. But the problem is that Winter Song is not enough like Quail Crossings for my readers to transfer over from one to the other. They are off brand. My brand is Quail Crossings. My brand is family saga, historical fiction, these big families that get together and go through history. That's my Jennifer McMurrain brand. My paranormal ghost stories, romances, that was way off brand. And my Quail Crossings readers are not reading them. So I have to redefine the brand for my ghost stories, my paranormal romance. Even though they're clean, I'm just having a really hard time getting my Quail Crossings readers to say, yeah, I want to read that. So if I was talking to them in person, I would totally do it. I could totally do it. But online, I'm having a really hard time with it. So, and I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just a people person. So I can have a conversation with somebody, and at the end of it, they'll buy a book just because we've had a really nice conversation. And I think that sometimes people try too hard to sell, and they're not just having a great conversation with a person. So that's the trick right there. If you're selling in person, have a great conversation. They're just too different. Winter Song, Quail Crossings, they're just too different. And so they're both great books. And yes, I'm a little biased, but they're both great books. They're just too different to share readers. So I'm not saying you can't write different genres. You just have to do it under a pen name. And that's what I'm in the process of doing myself, is I'm breaking up my business into 3 pen names. So I have Jennifer McMurrain, which is not a pen name. That is my real name. And Jennifer McMurrain, she writes historical fiction. She writes family sagas. And she's going to continue to write her sweet contemporary romances in a rural setting because those audiences do transfer over. Then I will have Jenny Lynn Michaels, who will take over all things paranormal. So when you see Jenny Lynn Michaels, even though it's me, and I'm not hiding the fact that it's me, you'll know, okay, this is the girl that writes the ghost stories. She writes the ghost romances. I like ghost romances. I want those books. And then the brand that I'm really wanting to put more focus on will be Raven Lee, who will handle the occult and the horror, which is basically a passion project of mine. So I really had to break those up because my Quail Crossings people, they're definitely not going to read my horror stuff. And they're really not transferring over to my paranormal stuff at all. So I'm breaking those up. I'm saying, okay, you want family, historical fiction stuff, you read Jennifer McMurrain. You want romantic ghost stories, read Jenny Lynn Michaels. You want some horror stuff, read Raven Lee. Okay. The downfall of this is that you have to build these brands as if you were indeed 3 different people. It's time consuming, and you have to maintain quantity as well as quality in all 3 brands. So you might want to get your feet under you with one name, one brand, and then once that is solid, then branch out. Since I didn't do this in the beginning, I'm feeling very much behind the 8 ball right now, trying to reorganize everything. And I really do feel like I missed a crucial window when Quail Crossings hit #1 on the Amazon bestseller paid list, because I didn't have Return to Quail Crossings and Missing Quail Crossings out. If I would have, I think it would have been a much larger snowball effect, and it would have changed my career for the better. Just learn from me, folks. Branding in fiction matters just as much as it matters in nonfiction. Make sure that your stuff is on brand. There are other marketing things you can do, such as having a newsletter, genre pages on Facebook, print marketing. I do recommend that you pick one of these and give them a try. Again, these are topics I'm still really learning about, so I don't feel like I'm the one to educate you on them. I will again pass on these names. I know Melissa Storm has a really awesome newsletter class. I am not in a place where I'm ready to take that yet, but I know that she's got a really awesome newsletter class. I've seen snippets of it. Michelle Fox is really big about her genre pages. So, and she talks a lot about that in her ads, her Facebook ads class. So those would be 2 that I would recommend. So again, just look to these ladies, Melissa Storm, Alana Taylor, who works a lot with Melissa Storm, and Michelle Fox for furthering your education on marketing. Like I said, I'm going to be taking more classes from them because it is definitely where I fall short. I am not, I'm not a marketing expert, but I'm going to guide you to them. So, and this is really where I feel like I struggle the most, marketing. But I highly recommend that you keep taking classes, you keep up to date, especially on marketing, because it changes all the time. So when you market, it helps to have quantity. And I told you guys we were going to go over today, and we are, and it'll make sense at the end, but we are going to go over today. And I hope to keep it under an hour. I really do. So I'm going to be talking kind of fast. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments, okay? When marketing, it also helps to have quantity. And no, it's not fair. But in order to be indie strong, you have to produce books faster than the traditional authors do. You cannot do one a year and expect to be indie strong. Now more than ever, we humans have shiny object syndrome. I have it when I write. We're interested in one thing, and then bam, something shiny and new comes along. And now we're interested in that new thing, and then bam, something new and shiny comes along. And by the time we have all these new and shiny things in our brain, we kind of forget about that old thing that we were interested in. Readers read your book. They love them, they look for more, and when there's none, they go and they read somebody else. And after they read somebody else, somebody else, and somebody else, they kind of forget that you were there. It's not because your book wasn't good, it's because we have too many shiny things. Now more than ever, we have whatever we want at our fingertips when we want it, especially with books. So I can go to Amazon, I can download a book right now, and I can start reading it within 30 seconds. And so there's just a lot of shiny things. You have to keep your publication list fresh, and the current rule of thumb for indies is to publish at least 4 times a year. Yeah, I know, that's a lot. I know, I do, I get it, it's a lot, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to write 4 full-length books every year. My best piece of advice is to write a series sell. People love series, and to have at least 3 books ready to go before you publish the first one. And yes, I know it is really hard to sit on a finished book. I know it tingles under my fingertips to hit publish, but don't do it. Because A, you'll have a head start giving your readers the books that they want in a timely manner that they want them. B, you're still going to have deadlines. You will always have deadlines, but hopefully you won't be chasing them, which means less stress. And C, series work best for marketing. You market the first book, and hopefully they love it so much that the readers will go out and buy the other books. That is how I make my money. I market Quell Crossings. People read Quell Crossings, they love it, and then they buy the rest of the series at full price. So that is why I recommend series. You can also write short stories, novellas, and articles to submit to anthologies, magazines, and box set collections. Writing short stories is the fastest way to keep your name current in the publication rounds. They are short, and if done right, they can be very poignant. There are a lot of publications that will pay you for short stories, which is a good way to keep your publication list current without any out-of-pocket expenses. I would be leery of submitting to any anthology, magazine, or box set collection that doesn't pay. You have to make sure that the exposure is worth your time. After all, exposure does not pay bills. Yes, you want to write for the joy of writing. I get that. But your time is worth something, and that is very important for you to know as a writer. Your time spent at the keyboard is worth something. And there are a lot of places out there that would love your writing for free, and you'll get nothing in return. Not even worthy exposure to show for your time. So don't let yourself be taken advantage of just for the sake of publication. When choosing where to submit your stories, look at the big picture and don't be afraid to see yourself in that big picture. Personally, one of my favorite places to submit short stories is Chicken Soup for the Soul. Their guidelines, they take creative nonfiction, which means I can tell a true story in a creative way, which really works with my fiction brain. In their guidelines, they want 1,200 words or less, so it's a pretty quick write, and they'll pay you $200 if they accept your work. And if they don't accept your work, you don't hear anything from them, so you don't even get that rejection letter. Plus, Chicken Soup for the Soul is a huge publication. They have millions of readers all over the world, and they've been around a long time. They've established their brand for sure. I know that getting one of my stories into their anthologies means that my writing is getting out to millions of brand new readers, and because of their reputation, I am getting free marketing. There are downfalls to submitting stories into the traditional market. Once you sell that story, you have to realize it's not yours anymore. You have to realize that once it's been accepted, they're probably going to make more money on it than you are, and that's okay. You can independently publish short stories, but I don't recommend it. It's not likely that you'll make back the money that you invested in cover design and editors. Box set collections are pretty hot right now, and if you can get into the right one, you can not only earn a bit of money, but you can also earn some accolades. I know a number of authors who have big accolades like USA Today bestseller and New York Times bestseller because they were involved with popular box sets. These are not get-rich types of publications, though. Most of these box sets are selling for 99 cents. That's a 32-cent royalty from Amazon now for the ebook, because these are almost always just ebooks. So that's 30 cents royalty from Amazon. Now imagine splitting that 32 cents with 20 people. For the math impaired, that's about a penny and a half per author per book sold. So even if they charge the standard $2.99 for this big box set collection, which most do the 99 cents because they're interested in generating a lot of sales, not a lot of money, that's still just $2.04 a book, which equals, with about 20 authors, which equals about 10 cents per author per sale. So it might add up a little bit, but it's going to take an awful lot of sales for you to actually see any kind of income. And you really cannot blame the people in charge of these big box set collections because most likely they're losing money on advertising. This is why some organizers offer to put the books together with a big headliner, but all you get is exposure because they're the ones that are paying for the editing and the book covers and the marketing. So they're investing all of this time and money, and they're doing that, again, to generate a lot of sales, not necessarily for income, but for that big name, that USA Today bestseller list or the New York Times bestseller list. They're going for those accolades. They're going to get those books in the hands of a lot of readers. So that's why they're usually 99 cents. Again, you have to weigh, will the publicity result in other sales for me? Do I really want to put all this work into a possible big accolade? Because it's not guaranteed. Sometimes that answer is yes. There really isn't a wrong answer because the worth of exposure is just as subjective as the worth of a book. But when submitting to these big box set collections, read your contracts closely. Just make sure that you're not getting shysted. Make sure that it's not like worldwide publication rights forever. Read them closely. And if you don't understand them, hire somebody, get a lawyer to read it with you so that you know that you're not being taken advantage of. Tip 3 is to write and publish novellas attached to a series. You might not be able to get 4 full-length books under your belt a year, but you can throw in a bonus series novella into publication and keep your readers interested. I would not publish a novella that is independent of any series. They just don't sell well. I've done this for Anna's Legacy. I write the novellas for Anna's Legacy, and then I go ahead and publish them because I already have covers and I do go through the editing process and the book's are already written, but they're just not big sellers. And so I put them out there because it doesn't make sense for them to collect cyber dust on my computer when they're finished books, finished novellas. But if they're attached to a series, they will sell. A question I get asked most often specifically about short stories is how to write them well. And honestly, the short answer to that is you have to treat it like a full-length novel. You have to make sure that your story has voice, that it has fully developed characters, setting, plot, and ending. We went over all of this stuff in earlier episodes of Indie Strong. And with a significantly lower word count, it really means that every word matters. So it's really hard to explain what makes a good short story because, again, it's so subjective. But I found when judging for contests, which I do a couple times a year, that people cut corners when they write short stories. They don't have fully developed characters. They don't have a setting that makes sense. Any setting at all sometimes. They don't have a strong plot and they don't have a strong ending. You have to have these in order to have a good short story. So every word matters. And especially with a short story, you really have to develop those characters and the story. So make sure when you're writing, no matter whether it's a novella, a novel, or a short story, or an article, or whatever, make sure that you engage your reader and that you put them fully into the story. And my advice is to just write the story and then edit to the word count. If you come up with considerably less than you were going for, then add that good fat. Add the lively descriptions of setting and character. Add a little more to your climax. Make sure that you're not rushing it. I see a lot of endings that are just rushed because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting to the end of my word count. I got to get all this in. Make sure you don't have any plot holes, and always, always, always make sure that you either have a happily ever after or a satisfying ending. I don't know how many times I've read a short story and it doesn't have an ending. It's like there's more that could happen and there's no definitive ending. And I'm just like, well, you can't leave me wanting more. It's a short story. It's not like there's a series of a novel, you know? So you can't have you can't leave it open-ended and expect the readers just to guess. Henry got away with that, but most people can't. If your story is too long, then cut that fat out. Look for ways to tighten those sentences. Use stronger words instead of more words. For example, instead of saying walk slowly, maybe he moseyed. Look for those crutch words like that, just, or had. How can you weed those out and make your writing stronger? And ask yourself if a secondary character needs to be cut. Basically, write it and then do your content and copy editing. There's no reason to hire a professional unless you're going to indie publish these, but you still need to do the editing. So, and the last secret of being indie strong is to be resilient. You have to grow some thick skin and you have to keep writing, even on the bad days, even after a bad review. Remember that bad reviews just means that you didn't write that book for that person, and that's okay. Some authors say that getting a bad review is a rite of passage. I mean, you're not truly an author until you got that 1-star review. It stings. I'm not gonna lie. It stings. But you have to just keep going, even when you think you're wasting your time, even when you think you're advertising to the same people over and over and over again. You just have to find that one book that's going to hit the readers right in the feels, and your whole career will change. If you stop on book 4 and it's book 5 that would have gone viral, then you'll never know what you would have missed. You have to be resilient and you have to be optimistic because your stories do matter, even if it doesn't feel that way at times. If it will happen. If you don't quit, it will happen. I mean, that's a promise because, I mean, there's just no way that it won't. So that's it. Losing my voice. That's it. That's the 4 secrets of being indie strong: quality, quantity, marketing, and resilience. It's just that easy and it's just that hard. So now for a moment of gin. And I know that we're over, but this is really important because this is our last Indie Strong Live. This is not a decision that I came to lightly, but yesterday was my birthday. And I did a lot of reflection, especially on the fact that it was another day of feeling crazy busy all day long, and then looking at my to-do list and realizing that I didn't really feel like I accomplished anything. And I had to come to some hard decisions, that some stuff had to be let go. We talked about branding. And as much as I love helping people and I love educating people on writing, writing fiction is my love. Writing fiction is my brand. And Indie Strong is kind of off brand. And so, yeah. So I'm having to let it go, and it's really hard. And I'm trying very hard not to get verklempt right now because it's not something that I wanted to let go. I really do enjoy helping people. It gives me validation. And so, you know, like I said, this was not an easy decision. When we signed our daughter up for virtual learning, I knew it was going to be somewhat hands-on. But now that we're a month into it, I realized that I'm basically homeschooling with some district guidance. And it is taking a ton of my time. And, you know, sometimes we can get it all done in the mornings. And sometimes, like last night, it was 9 o'clock before we finished everything. And it wasn't that the teacher gave her too much to do. It was just that we had to teach things. And my husband and I, we're not teachers. And so sometimes it's kind of like, and it was new math. I do not have nice things to say about new math, okay? I was just like, just add them. But they wanted them to be added up a specific way. And I'm just like, it's my birthday. I'm not doing that. But thankfully, Mike really understands Common Core math. He understands this breaking it down into things. And so, but they really had to talk about it. And so it really took a while. There was a lesson. And so it took a while. Anyway. And it was my birthday. So we did pause to like celebrate that. But I really have to figure out where my focus is going to be. And last night when I went to bed, I just kept thinking, keep it simple, stupid. And I don't call myself stupid, and I don't recommend calling other people stupid. But when you're feeling completely overwhelmed week after week and you're not feeling like you're really getting anything accomplished and the thing that you love doing is falling on the back burner, that's not exactly a smart move. As I said before, I really do love helping people. And that's why I've done this for free for so long. And that's why I came back to it after I stopped last time. I mean, it really does fill my soul with happiness to know that I've helped other people. I am not going away. I'm not like canceling my Facebook, but I'm just not going to go live weekly. I still have my Indie Strong Facebook too in the comments where you can go for guidance and motivation. I'm not disappearing. I promise. I'm just not going to be live every week. Um, you know, it was just time for me to reevaluate, and that kind of sucks, but I really have to focus on my family and my love of fiction writing because, that's just part of me. It's part of me, and so it's sad to say goodbye to these because I do enjoy doing them, and I hope that nobody takes it personally because, sometimes you have to put yourself first and you have to put your family first, and letting go of Indie Strong is definitely putting my fiction writing first, which is something that I love doing. It's just part of me. It always has been a part of me. If I never sell another book, I will still write just because it's in me. It's who I am. I'm a storyteller. So until I see you again, which I will, I do hope that your words flow like water. And remember, your stories matter. You matter. Take care and happy writing.